What's up, motherfuckers? Skulls here. And I know a lot of y'all motherfuckers heard about people saying getting a faster internet connection can help you with the online gaming, but sometimes in COD it can hurt you, but really none of this shit has been proven. Either way you look at it, both sides have shitty moments. But what's the real answer? Does getting files actually help your connection in COD or any other multiplayer game? Well, the short answer is no. The long answer is last night when I was playing COD, I wanted to see how fast the game actually plays at in terms of how much bandwidth it uses on the internet. So I have DDWRT on my router. If you don't know what DDWRT is, basically the visual of the router to give me advanced options to see how fast things are downloading on my internet. And just to be sure I wasn't getting speeds from anything else, I didn't download or stream anything on my PC, which is the only thing that's connected to my router. And as you can see on the screen at the top right, this is the exact speeds at the exact second of the exact point of how fast it was downloading in order for me to play. And if you can tell, it doesn't really go past maybe 15-20 kilobytes per second. And if I was host, it might be a little bit more. It'll probably never, for the most part, go over 100 kilobytes per second. But why is this? To my understanding, it really doesn't need to send that much information through the internet, because if you really think about it, you only really stream data from the host for where the enemies are and maybe where the bullets are and the bullet registration and maybe things hitting the walls, explosions, you know, little things, really small things. Maybe there's other things that I'm not really thinking of, but that's like the main things about the game that needs to stream between each other's internet. So if it's not necessary for a game like COD to have a blazing fast internet speed, why do most people experience lag? Because it's not about the quantity of information that you can download with your fast internet speed. It's the quality of the internet, which is the hugest problem with games like Call of Duty. See, what I think is Call of Duty, they assume that we all have the perfect internet connection, meaning our ping never changes, our speed always stays the same, you know what I mean, like we have business line internet. And with COD assuming this, they try to keep everybody on the same playing field with the lag compensation, as a lot of y'all heard of. But the problem with it is it tries to compensate too often, which is why you may experience skipping or bullets just flying through people, because it's trying to do that immediately after there's an inconsistency in the ping from you to the host or from you to the other players. Once it changes like maybe 10-15 milliseconds, which will always happen with the internet no matter if someone's on Netflix or not, it's gonna happen. So it's trying to compensate for that immediately as fast as possible, which is the main problem, at least with Call of Duty. And speaking of Netflix, you may have heard from somebody that if someone was to go to Netflix or start watching YouTube, you'll start to lag on the game, which is true, but it's not because they're using every last drop of your connection. It's because now that someone else is on your internet, your ping is going to fluctuate a lot more now, meaning the game as well as the host will have to compensate more frequently. And it's not just the problems with you, it's the problems with the host as well as everyone else in the lobby. So if anyone is starting to watch Netflix or YouTube, it can hurt you. It doesn't all the time, but it definitely can. So how do we fix something like this? Honestly, we really can't. Not yet. I mean, we could either remove lag comp, but obviously the COD devs and every other multiplayer game will obviously lose sales if they cater to people with the better Fios type connections, and they just completely do not care about people with dial-up or DSL. Even though they're living in the past, they still need to cater to those guys so they can make more money. Any way for them to make more money, they will do that to help them be a satisfied customer. And let me also bring up this. I know a lot of you might say that other multiplayer games like Battlefield have perfect connection most of the time, and that's because of dedicated servers. Here's the thing about Battlefield. At least on the PC, even on consoles, now that you can choose your servers, there's a way less of a chance for you to go into a server that has terrible ping, especially on the PC, because you can see the ping before you go in the lobby. If you see a server that has 150 ping, you know that ain't gonna be good at all. But if you see one with 30, 40, 10, 15, you're gonna go into those games more often because is a better connection. So that's why maybe a lot of people on PC say the PC is better for multiplayer. It has better connection. It doesn't actually have a better connection. You just have a free choice to see bullshit or not see bullshit in terms of connection. And speaking of seeing your ping on PC, I know a lot of y'all who've played COD know about the 4-bar, 3-bar, 2-bar, and the 1-bar, right? It obviously doesn't precisely tell you what the fuck connection you actually have. It's honestly like the most stupid indication on whether you have a good ping or not. Because those bars work ranges of pings. Just because you have a 4-bar doesn't mean you have an instant connection to the host. Don't quote me on this, but let's say that if you have a 4-bar, your ping is probably between 0 milliseconds and 200 milliseconds. Hypothetically speaking. If anything, it is something like that. Or let's say if you have a 3 bars, maybe it's 200 milliseconds to 400 milliseconds and so on. The problem with that is you do not know whether you have a 200 or a 10 millisecond if you have a 4-bar. It can go either way. And the reason they use ranges is because obviously, again, at least with the bars, they don't want it to constantly change from 4-bar, 3-bar, 2-bar, 1-bar. They want to have a big range so it'll look like you're always on a good connection, but you're just on a good enough connection to make it playable. But let's go back on how we could possibly fix this problem. The only other way I could think of us fixing this problem is for us to wait for our ISPs, Time Warner, Comcast, Verizon, for them to upgrade their infrastructure with better internet lines to better handle these types of problems, to make it more consistent. We don't need faster speeds if it's still inconsistent. And speaking of inconsistency, that's why most people get chosen for hosts, which is why a lot of people with Fios, they get mad because I'm always getting chosen for hosts. It's not because you have 50 down or 110 down. It's because your internet is the most consistent, but everybody else's is not. So you are going to be at the top of the ladder of being chosen for host or the next host if there was a migration. So even if you were to downgrade your internet to something else, you're still on that high quality line. So you're still going to be chosen for host unless you go back to DSL or ADSL, even though that's still going to hurt you because it's a shitty fucking connection everywhere else. So the main thing that we can do is just wait it out. Stop bitching about the connection. It's really not going to fucking change. But anyways, motherfuckers, it's a pretty goddamn long video compared to my other ones, but I don't give a fuck. I had a lot to say. And I'm out.